Yeah, this has been quite the experience here with this truck, so I got to go over all this with you guys. Okay, so so what I was having trouble, once I got the, I'm trying to remember, I got my own fuse panel made, I got all that stuff done for it, I got everything, but I had one code in there, and then I had one code I was dealing with, which is actually still there, and I found out what it is. It's a mismatch between the software, between the instrument cluster, from what I'm understanding, and the ECM. It's a U0156 code. Okay, so then I couldn't get anything on the dash to work for switches, and I couldn't get anything. I mean, I tried reconfiguring things with ESA and the CECU, could never make it work. So what we ended up doing, I didn't have no speedometer either. This is kind of a long, drawn-out story, but anyway, just hear me out. So what I did is I went and ordered a CECU and an ABS controller based on the part numbers, based on the VIN number that this engine came out of, the truck VIN number. We matched those part numbers to this, basically this engine, off the newer truck that this engine came out of. So we put the CECU in there, and I had to do some configuring with ESA, but I got all the switches, everything works. Dash switch, all that stuff works. Okay, so then I messed with the speedometer for like 3 days trying to get the speedo to work. So this ABS controller, as soon as I'd plug it in, it was throwing this U1136 code, which is a HRW timeout error code, basically. And what HRW stands for is high-speed real it's HWR, high-speed wheel resolution. So it was showing this HWR code, and I fought it trying to figure out what the hell was going on, because you look in there, I've got the diagnostic service manual for this thing, and it tells you to go to engine rapido. It must be something on Davy that I do not possess. So there was no information anywhere on the internet. I mean, I scoured the internet trying to find these codes and information. Long story short, I just started working on it, trying to figure out what the hell is going on. So my Texa unit is a good diagnostic system, but the problem with it doesn't do everything that OEM software does and is capable of. So what I wound up doing, Kevin's truck is a 2015 389 with the MX13 EPA10 in it. So I went and robbed his instrument cluster out, thinking maybe the cluster wasn't communicating the speedo head. All the gauges and everything worked. You know, oil pressure, engine coolant temperature, tachometer, all that stuff was working, you know, but no speedo. So I didn't know. So I went and robbed the cluster out of his truck and his ABS control module, and I stuck it in this truck. Well, I noticed that the HWR U1136 code had went away when I did that. And I thought, well, we obviously know it's because I stuck it in before I stuck the cluster in. So I knew that the control module that I bought, see, that Texa unit will do an auto configuration, and you can do a manual configuration on it too, but you can't set any, all you can do on the manual configuration is you'll set it for like a 4S4M or a 6S6M. What that means is you'll have 4 wheel speed sensors for a 4S4M. You'll have 2 on the, and it could be, the manufacturer set them up different. Sometimes they'll put 2 sensors on the steer axle and 2 on the back drive axle, and they'll call the additional axle the front drive axle. Okay, so a 6S6M would have 6 wheel speed sensors. You'd have 2 on the steer axle, 2 on the additional axle, and 2 on the back drive axle, which we did not have. This one was set up for 4S4M. They had set it up, sometimes 4S4Ms are set up with all 4 wheel speed sensors on the back 2 drive axles. That's not the way this one's set up. So what I did is I did the manual configuration as well, and you can't set specific parameters like you can with the Bendix software. So what I did is I tried the instrument cluster as well, and it still no speedo. Still wasn't reading the back 2 wheels. I couldn't get the back 2 wheels to read. So what I did is I took the new ABS controller, which was an EC80 controller. The one that came out of this was an EC60. So I took the EC80 control module and I stuck it in Kevin's truck, and I drove Kevin's truck, and I looked at the live data on the Texa unit, and I had no, it wasn't reading the back wheels. It was reading the front and not the back. And the HWR code came up on Kevin's ECM in his truck, which is the 15. This is the 2012. Anyway, I knew that I had to reconfigure that ECM or something, that control module, or something was drastically wrong with it. So I bought the subscription and downloaded the Bendix ACOM latest version of software and got it installed. And 8 o'clock that night, I went out there on Kevin's truck, and sure as hell, I linked up to it, and that parameter on the auto configuration in the Bendix software, they had the HWR high-speed wheel resolution. They had it disabled. I enabled it and cleared the code, and the code cleared away. And I drove Kevin's truck with that control module in there, and all of a sudden it was reading the back wheels, and the speedo worked. Okay, speedo wouldn't work in that truck either with that control module in there. So I thought, oh sure, shit, I've got her whipped now. We've got her whipped. So came back that morning all excited, thinking I was just going to plug a module in and clear a code and drive it. Well, I did that and it still wouldn't work. Still no speedo, and the back two sensors still weren't reading. But I still had this U0156, so I started chasing that and chasing that and chasing that, scouring the internet looking for some information for it, and was just coming up empty-handed everywhere I checked. So finally, I'd checked every CAN bus. I checked the VCAN, I checked the OCAN circuit, I checked the ACAN, which is after treatment. I checked the ICAN circuit going to the instrument cluster. I checked every CAN circuit on it, and everything was checking out fine. And I finally found some information that was basically telling me it was a software mismatch between this old instrument cluster and the new ECM on the engine. So then I decided to go back to looking at wheel speed sensors. So what I did is I talked to Tim over there at LAT Automotive in New Mexico, and he's pretty well versed in this stuff. And we'd come to the conclusion, I said, there's got to be something wrong with them damn wheel speed sensors back there. And so what we did is I back probed the ABS control module here and found the pinouts for the back right wheel speed sensor. I jacked up this axle, released the brakes, and then I put my ohm meter, my multimeter, on AC voltage, because those put out AC voltage, and they'll run like millivolts when the wheel's turning. And like 5 or 10 miles an hour would be millivolts. Once you get the higher the speed, the more volts it puts out. Anyway, I was getting nothing, absolutely zero on both of those wheels back there. So I went to the steer axle, I jacked it up, I did the same exact test, and I was getting like 90 millivolts at 5 miles per hour on the steer axle, which was reading before, right? So then I thought, well, let's go and unplug them right back on the axle. I unplugged them right back on the axle and did the same exact test, and I was still getting 0 millivolts. I said, okay, we've got a problem with speed sensors. So some ding-dong had put brake shoes on this truck, and something else I found here, I told Wyatt, your wheel seal's out. You can see where and I'll show you here. See the brake shoes all greasy, and look at the back of the hub here. So this wheel seal was out. Anyway, sure as hell, I got in here, and whoever did the brake job had shoved these wheel speed sensors all the way back that way. This was flush, wasn't even touching here. This was flush. And anyway, long story short, I pushed them back in up against the tone ring on the hub, and I drove it, and the speedo works, and the back wheels are reading now. So we have a speedometer now. I got to adjust the tire size, because this has 24.5s on it, and the other wheel speed I think is set up for 22.5s. So we got to adjust that with Bendix. But anyways, now we got a wheel seal we're fixing. We got to finish up the exhaust work on it. We just got to put a 90 on the SCR and come out and make a bracket to bolt it in here or something. We'll figure it out. And I got to put the interior back together, and I got to charge the air conditioner, and then he can come get it. So I thought maybe you guys would want to hear about that interesting debacle. Anyway, I'll show you a little bit more on this. All right, guys, I didn't I was actually intending on showing it, but I'm so scatterbrained half the time. Got here this morning here and was trying to work on this, and of course I've got other things going on, and people were calling me wondering if I ordered this and when you gonna get to this, that kind of situation. But anyway, what was going on yesterday is I did a forced regen on this thing because I was trying everything in my power to make sure that, you know, when Wyatt comes and gets his truck after all of this and waiting for so long, that he didn't get halfway over there and it derated or something like that on him. So I did a forced regen and went through the entire regen process. Everything came up to temperature. It went through the whole process and passed. And what I like to do on these, if you've got the Davy software, I think what you can do, you can, like on the Cummins, what I do with Insight, with Cummins Insight, I don't have Davy, I have a Texa that I use on the Paccars. But on the, like on a Cummins with Insight, you can do an SCR. What you can do is you have to get your temperatures up on all your catalysts here. So you're going to have your inlet, then you're going to have your DOC. Your DOC is where all the magic happens when the fuel's shooting in back over here on the doser. And then it comes in and creates a chemical reaction, which causes it to burn. That's how it regens. And then you're going to have your DPF. Then you're going to have your SCR catalyst. So they've changed everything. There's the decomps all incorporated into this SCR assembly here. It ain't like the old style, which is actually really convenient. It's right here. It's way less bulky than these were. Here's your old style dosing valve. This is the new style right here. They're completely different. I wanted to show you this morning, but I came in here and couldn't find my camera, and I stuck it in my service truck. Anyways, but what I noticed yesterday doing the regen is I was letting it come down to temp, and where I was kind of going with that whole explanation there is I don't have the option on the Texa software to do an SCR catalyst efficiency test. Usually, like on a Cummins, you would start a regen to get your temperatures up, because all this stuff, these won't start dosing until you get temperatures up to like 600-700 degrees throughout the entire assembly. And what you're looking for on that is you're looking to see, you want your inlet and outlet NOx readings to be stable, and once they start reading stable, usually they'll start dosing. But they won't even start reading stable or anything till they get like 600-700 degrees, sometimes a little bit hotter even. But anyway, went through the whole regen process, and I thought, well, I'll just monitor my NOx conversion as the temps, as it's start, you know, I'll cancel the regen while I'm up to like 900 degrees, and then I'll just bump my idle up a little bit and give it a little RPMs and monitor the temperatures and the stable readings and the NOx conversion. Well, they were reading stable and everything, but the NOx conversion was the same on the inlet and the outlet. It was 120, right around 120 parts per million on the inlet and outlet. And I knew right then, I said, and it said that my doser was dosing, and I had 124 pounds, 125 pounds of DEF fluid, AdBlue pressure on it. So I knew right then that this was not squirting the urea in. And usually what happens is if these things are left uncapped and stuff and setting out in the ambient air, they'll just, that stuff will crystallize and hard up as hard as a rock on there. And another thing that'll happen too is right down in where it goes in, it'll crystallize, and you'll have to knock that out of there. And I've seen them get, like the Detroits on the one boxes, they'll crystallize really bad over here on the one box back in here. And you know, they make an apron kit and all kinds of stuff for that doesn't really work. You're basically just gotta get another one box for it. But anyway, so came in this morning and I intended to video that, and I pulled the doser out of it and I did a doser test, and it wasn't dosing. So then I cleaned it off, put it back in there, did a regen again, and watched my parts per million when I was around 700-800 degrees, and it was dosing. And I had a NOx conversion and a catalyst efficiency of like 95, 96%. Not 100% happy with that. I kind of like to see right around 100% conversion efficiency, but we'll see what happens. It's pretty good. It was clear down to like 4 parts per million, something like that, on the outlet. So usually if you got 4 parts per million on the outlet, that's usually pretty good. So anyway, we're going to put the step back on it, and we're going to finish up the wheel seal job back there. I was trying to get the gasket material cleaned up, and it just kept getting called out for these tan guys yesterday. Running out of room here. I really don't like the way the wires here for the temperature sensors are sitting. I don't really care for that. If I can get a little bit of slack and get them on the other side of all this. Let's do that. I would like that a lot better. That way they're not going to be rubbing on that bracket. Okay. I might eventually get to go drive this thing. I still got to do the air conditioner. Might add a little bit of PAG oil to it because I don't trust it. Like every time I don't end up adding a couple ounces to the system when they've been discharged. Seems like shortly after that, the compressor goes out or something. The only code I've got, and maybe one of you guys out there has got a lot more experience or have more information on this with your Davy software, because this use0156 code is the only code left. And me and Tim Stanford, a buddy of mine, we had kind of come to the conclusion between the two of us that it was a software mismatch between the instrument cluster and the ECM on the engine. Because with the old ECM, the EPA10, and here's what's kind of odd, guys. Well, it's not really odd, I guess, because it kind of confirmed my suspicions about the software mismatch. I actually plugged in the EPA10 harness to this one before I even did a lot of this wiring, and had the original wiring in it with the old harness in it, and I didn't have any software mismatch. But as soon as I plug this ECM in, I do. Then that code comes active. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Maybe somebody out there has more information on that code, because it was telling us, what was it saying? Go to Engine Rapido. I'm not certain what that is. Maybe that's something in the Davy software that I don't have. Oh. Yeah, we're gonna get to drive this thing, make sure our jakes are working, and I'll take her on a pretty good long trip, probably around a 30-35 mile trip, just to ensure that maybe everything, no D-rates come up or anything like that. And when you're in California now, you have to have all this stuff 100% operational. There's no getting around it anymore. It's crazy what this state's doing anymore. Just total communist control. I mean, now they was going to go to an annual. See, like the cars in California, they have to be checked like once every 2 years on the smog. Up here in Siskiyou County, the old rule's always been up here that you could smog it the first time when you register it. Now, if you resell the vehicle, you have to smog it again. But if you're say if you go out and buy a brand new car or even a used car, you could smog it one time and that's all you had to smog it. But now they've come out with all the rules they're doing. They were going to do that with the trucks now, where you had to smog it once every 2 years, I think. Now then they changed it to annually. Now they're talking about the trucks having to be smogged 4 times a year. 4 times a year. It's just beyond. They're going to bankrupt, and that's their intention. Their intention is to bankrupt the industry. That's what their intention is. Once people really start figuring out the way these people, what you've got is you've got producers, creators, people that produce and create things, and you've got people that destroy things. It's only kind of 2 people you got in this world. And their goal is to destroy. That's what their goal is. Find the bolts. Okay. I like the new steps better than the old steps, though, I'll tell you that. The new steps are a lot easier to get on. There's way less bolts in them. The old steps had all those bolts up in here and on the sides. And anyway, well, that's done. I got to make a brace for this exhaust. I put a weed burner tip on it and got it over here. I was kind of a little bit concerned. I didn't know if I should run it further back. But I did a regen, and all the heat was going down, so I was kind of concerned it was going to be coming out these holes here and then getting this def tank hot, this plastic, and it didn't, so I'm okay with that. I need to blank these holes off with some bolts or something. It's probably some 5/8 bolts, but I need to finish the wheel seal up and do the air conditioner. Well, let's go drive this thing. Went to charge the air conditioner, and the high pressure line coming over the top of the radiator down to the condenser popped. So I got one ordered. It'll be in tomorrow. It's like one thing after another with this old girl. But I have definitely earned my keep on this project. Okay, let's go see what this thing will do. I actually took the Bendix ACOM software and adjusted the revolutions. It's a little different setup on these on the wheel speed sensors. You do RPMs, revolutions per minute, on those, and as far as I can tell, that's what it is, because the revs per mile on like a tail shaft speedo, it's not set up the same way. His cab suspension valve is leaking pretty bad. It needs a new valve there. Let's get the tilt wheel down here where we can. So the check engine light's on. Hang on. Does tilt not work or something? I guess. There we go. Down there. Now see, the light down here is not on, and this is not working either. His cursor. Because you could you could change that in the information center to where you're not seeing it all the time. But this is the light we're really concerned about. When this little amber light, the little check engine light down here comes on, what this is that U0156 code. It's not going to affect anything. It's there. He's got to get a different instrument cluster to update it. Okay, this is the first time she's really gone anywhere. And get it. There's our speedo. Speedo's working. Hey. Yeah, we might have something else going. I did a forced regen. I know it's dosing, all that good stuff. This glove box is screwed up and won't stay closed. What is this? Oh, this is a 10 speed? Oh, that's why I thought that's seemed like that was a little high there. I thought it was a 13. No, there's no splitter knob. Flatland truck. That's what this is flatland. Kind of odd. Usually these Packars are kind of notorious for having see if our jigs will work. Yeah, we're working. That is good things are happening. Got the window down because there's no air conditioning. It's about 100 degrees today. Jigs actually work pretty good on it. Thing here. What the hell is that? What is that? What the hell is that? Okay. I could put my miles per hour app on there and see if it's reading. Maybe I'll do that when I turn around. I'll put the miles per hour app on there and see if we're getting pretty close to where we should be. ladder for a ways and make sure everything's okay. I'll be back with you. Well, let's hook up the laptop to it. Let's see. We're just going to hook up the Bendix software to it because the Bendix will show the codes in all of them versus it's just, I like the Bendix software, I really do, since I've only had it for about a week, but I really like it. I really like their CAN bus information is really helpful. I gotta type my stupid password in here. I think I screwed that up. Yep. Oh, I forgot to take the caps lock off. Alright. Let's turn the key on. Only one fault was on the display center here. So hopefully that's all that's in there. You know, I will be honest with you, for some reason, when you cycle the ignition, it'll throw ICANN codes, but they'll go active, and as soon as it's like running, they're inactive. It's kind of weird. So it'll probably have something like that going on, more than likely. But I don't really care. If they go back to inactive, we'll clear them and so on and so forth. It's not affecting anything. Bendix. Go to connect. Yeah, see, you can read all your... This truck actually only had 452,000 miles on it, but it's reading the mileage off the ECM. The truck this came out of obviously had 502,000, I think. Or maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe the... What is it reading? Model year 2018. 389. So it's reading what was on the other truck, so that's okay. We want it reading what's on this truck. Let's see here. There's that undocumented, what's it say? Undocumented fault, contact manufacturer. That's the one we've got in there that's been there for a while. It's looking at all the controllers and making a list of all the codes. It takes a little bit. That's all that's in there. There's nothing else in there. So it didn't throw any faults on a 32-mile trip. Pretty happy with that. So anyway, there's no really need to clear the fault because it's not going to do any good. Let's disconnect. Okay. So the only thing I got left to do is I'll show you where that line popped on me. Hang on, I gotta open this hood. The cables are broke on the hood, so all it has is a spring, so guys gotta be really careful with it. He needs a leveling valve for his cab suspension really bad. I tell you what though, folks, I have earned my keep on this one. sucker's heavy. How's everything looking here? Oh, that's looking good. I don't see any drips or anything. That's a good sign. The coolant level's still full. Okay. This, I just stuck a oh, it blew that out. Look what it did there. It blew that out. Well, that's not going to work. Okay. That is not going to work. We will suck dirt through the engine. So we got to do something. We got to do something different there. That's not going to work. I wonder if I got another one of these somewhere, this whole boot, and just change the whole boot out. I'll have to look. But that hose popped right here. Just blew out, so I never did look to see what horsepower this one was. Yeah, this is a 510 horse one. So, anyway. Okay, well guys, we gotta fix this, get this plugged somehow. I got a bunch of that kind of stuff in there. We'll go look and see if I got something that'll go over that. What else? What else do we need to do here? That's about it, really. Fix the air conditioning, and that line won't be until tomorrow. Anyway. Oh, that's right. I built this weed burner, but I want to build, I'm going to take this brace and then move it to these two holes here. I've got enough room there. And then what I'm going to do, hear that cab valve leaking? Yeah, it's the cab. Yeah, it's that cab valve leaking. Anyway, I'll move this over there and I'm going to bend it up, and then I've got a brace that'll go on there, so this won't fall down or have problems. Anyways, guys, I'm going to fix a few last remaining problems here and call this one just about whipped. Thanks for watching.